Hello and welcome. You're watching UTV Live at 6.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. These are the headlines.
A man appears in court accused of murdering his neighbour Sean Small in Newcastle.
A family's trauma as it's revealed children across Northern Ireland are set to get a chickenpox vaccine.
I think that if we had got Noah the vaccine, he wouldn't have been as ill than if he had taken it. And that's something that me and his daddy have to live with now, that we feel guilt and regret not getting him the vaccine.
A victim of the paedophile priest Paul Dunleavy rejects an apology from the Christian Brothers.
Not if they're on bended knees in front of me apologising, because they're to blame as much as him. They put me through what I went through and all other victims.
And abducted, murdered and secretly buried by IRA terrorists. The disappeared are remembered.
Also tonight, Linfield have been shell-shocked as the Blues get hammered in the Eurozone.
And after a largely settled day, we have some wet and windy weather on the way for the weekend. I'll have all of the details later in the programme.
A 41-year-old Newcastle man has appeared in court accused of murdering his elderly neighbour in the County Down seaside town last week.
He's been remanded in custody while a mental health assessment is carried out. The 84-year-old victim, Sean Small, had recently been released from prison after serving a sentence for sexual offences. Barbara McCann reports from Newtownards Magistrates Court.
The body of 84-year-old Sean Small was found outside his Newcastle home on Sunday evening. Police described it as a brutal and sustained attack. The pensioner had served time in prison for sex offences against a vulnerable woman and a teenage girl, but had recently been released and was under supervision as part of his sentence. In Newtownards Court this morning, Mark William Brady of Slievenna-Brock Avenue was charged with his murder on a date between the 19th and the 24th of August. The accused appeared in the dock in a grey prison-issued tracksuit. He spoke only to confirm that he understood the charge against him. An investigating officer said she believed she could connect him to the crime. No bail application was made, and McBrady was remanded in custody to appear in court again on September the 25th. An assessment of the defendant's mental health will be carried out before his next appearance in court, following an application from his solicitor. Barbara McCann, UTV Live, Newtownards.
A mother from Londonderry says she regrets not thinking about giving her son a chickenpox vaccine. Linda Stewart's son Noah was 3 when he was left with pox all over his body, even on his eyelids, which threatened his eyesight. He eventually developed pneumonia, but he has now made a full recovery.
Well, today it was announced that from next year, children in Northern Ireland will be offered a free vaccine against the infection. A warning: you may find some images in Daniel Duffy's report distressing.
Chickenpox. It's a common enough infection, but for some it can be serious. For little 4-year-old Noah from Derry, it was severe. After contracting it last year, he was hospitalised.
Because Noah became so sick with his chickenpox, he went from being a very happy boy to being a boy that was in so much pain and really distressed, being in and out of hospital. I definitely worried when he had the chest x-ray and they confirmed he had varicella pneumonia, so the virus had spread to his lungs. Because Noah has asthma, that obviously was a great concern.
Many people contract the virus as children, though people of all ages can get it, and it can be serious in certain cases. The chickenpox vaccine will be available to young children on the NHS from January 2026, and there will be a catch-up programme for older children. It will be rolled into the MMRV vaccine, which protects against measles, mumps and rubella. Children will automatically be offered 2 doses at 12 months and 18 months of age. The move brings the UK in line with other countries.
We do know that a significant portion of people get very unwell with shingles in later life, and the vaccine against chickenpox will protect you from that in later life. We do have shingles vaccination, but if you get the 2 vaccines as part of the childhood vaccination regime, we know that that gives you lifelong protection against the chickenpox virus.
The news was welcomed at this West Belfast soft play area.
My mum's immunosuppressed, so even if my daughter who's in school came home with and she got chicken pox, I then couldn't use my mum for childcare or anything because we need to protect her.
My son had chicken pox last year. Thankfully it was a mild dose. He came through it okay, but I mean it's understandable that there would be other severe doses of chicken pox, and this could really help other children in the community.
100%, if I could have avoided my kids having chicken pox, I would have. But every one of my kids did get chicken pox, and they've all been left with one scar or another.
For Nurse Linda, she regrets not getting the vaccine for Noah.
I think, like with everybody, we thought chickenpox is one of those things. It's a rite of childhood passage, that we would look back at pictures covered in calamine lotion and kind of have a giggle about it. But I wish now, I really wish we had got him the vaccine. I think that if we had got Noah the vaccine, he wouldn't have been as ill than if he had taken it. And that's something that me and his daddy have to live with now, that we feel guilt and regret not getting him the vaccine.
Linda Stewart ending that report by Daniel Duffy. Well, earlier I spoke to Dr. Joanne McLean from the Public Health Agency about the vaccine, the tragic events at the Emerge Dance Festival last weekend, and about their advice around the risks of drug taking given forthcoming concerts this weekend.
This is a good news story. The chickenpox vaccine has been used in many countries across the world for many decades and has a good safety profile. The Joint Committee on Vaccinations and Immunisations have looked at it, they have recommended its use, and I think that it'll be good for children's health, and I would really encourage people to get the vaccine.
Moving on, Joanne McLean, Belfast City Council has expressed frustration over the lack of information in connection with 2 deaths after the Emerge Dance Festival at the weekend. Have you received any information around the cause of those deaths, and were they drug related?
So the first thing I want to say is we are aware of 2 tragic deaths of young people in Belfast at the weekend. And the first thing I want to say, that's a completely devastating tragedy for those families. And I'm really conscious of them in the middle of this. I don't want to speculate about any of the causes, but we have not received any information from any of our partners to suggest that there are types of so-called bad batches of drugs circulating. I'm not going to speculate on the cause of death of the young people, because I don't know.
OK, well, we spoke to your colleague yesterday about the high-potency MDMA, commonly known as ecstasy in the Republic. He said at that stage yesterday afternoon, no evidence to suggest it was in circulation, as you're saying. That is still the case, given the cross-border nature of the drugs trade, and it's not a concern of the PHA at this stage?
The Health Service Executive in the South issued an alert in May of this year, and that was warning people that they had detected what they called very high strength ecstasy whenever they did drug testing at the Electric Picnic Festival last year. So it was something that they issued in May. We're not aware of that currently circulating within Northern Ireland. Having said that, all illegal drugs can be harmful. If you take illegal drugs or you take a substance you don't know what it is, that can cause you harm. You don't know what's in it, and it can cause you harm in any case.
Why has it taken so long for the PHA to issue guidance around all of this, and has your messaging been strong enough?
So the first thing to say is the PHA has been issuing guidance throughout the summer around the risks associated with taking drugs. We did issue messaging just before the Emerge Festival at the weekend, and in fact some of my colleagues have been on various media outlets talking about that, and that was before the event. Our messaging has not changed. Our messaging is the same. Illegal drugs or unknown substances are dangerous, and we really encourage people not to take them. I wish people wouldn't take them. I do know, however, that some people at music festivals and other settings do choose to take illegal drugs or unknown substances. And in those circumstances, we want to reduce the harm associated with that.
Well, you advocate a harm reduction model in the PHA, but the PSNI is zero tolerance in its approach. You're both lead agencies in protecting the public. How do you strike that balance between those opposing approaches?
So we work very closely with the PSNI and are regularly talking to them, not just this week, but throughout the year, around issues including drugs. I think the police service have a particular focus, which is on crime and tackling crime. Our purpose as the Public Health Agency is to protect people's health and to help people stay healthy. Of course, as I've said, I would much prefer if people just didn't take drugs and drugs weren't available. But we know that people do choose to take drugs. We know that drugs are widely available. So with that in mind, we want to do as much as we can to support people who choose to take drugs to stay safe.
Dr. Joanne McLean speaking to me earlier.
I felt I was still being abused by him every day until he died. A victim of the jailed, shamed Christian brother and prolific paedophile Paul Dunleavy on news of his death. That survivor has spoken exclusively to UTV for the first time about what he suffered as a boy and why he came forward to help put the predator behind bars.
Also, for the first time, the religious order has said sorry for the hurt and pain caused by Dunleavy. And in the last half hour, it's been revealed by police the number of potential victims has soared, and maybe as many as almost 100. Our crime and security correspondent Sharon O'Neill reports.
That man was still abusing me. Up until that man died, that man was still abusing me. That man was abusing me in my sleep. That man was abusing me every single day till I opened my eyes. That man was abusing me. That man was abusing me when I went out, how I felt. I felt dirty. I felt unwanted. I just felt that unloved.
Yet Eddie Hutchinson found it in his heart to forgive.
I feel good that I have forgiven. It's something that off my head. That higher power deal with it, whatever they have to. But I forgive him.
His tormentor, disgraced Christian brother, prolific paedophile Paul Dunleavy, passed away in hospital on Tuesday. The 89-year-old former teacher and principal was serving time for a catalogue of sex crimes at 4 schools he taught at in Belfast, Newry and Armagh, his reign of terror spanning almost 3 decades. In all, he was convicted of 72 offences involving 18 victims across 3 trials. The boys he preyed on, aged between 7 and 14. Eddie was just 9.
This was every day Monday to Friday, unless I was off sick or unless something. I was even before school, during school. This was done during school in classrooms. When that door wasn't even locked, there's just no words. He's just filthy.
Late last year, Dunleavy was handed another 10 years for more crimes against more boys in schools like this one here in Newry. But that wasn't case closed. He was still under investigation by police with more child sex abuse cases on their radar. Those victims denied justice by his death.
I wish there was a magic wand, but there isn't. And it's something you have to live with. But you can live with it, and it's worth struggling. It's worth, continuing to seek healing.
Father Paddy McCafferty, who was himself abused as a young man by a former priest, knew all about Dunleavy's reputation.
So many of the others, the likes of Brendan Smith and co, and Sean Fortune and all them, I remember one of my counsellors one time said to me, where there's one victim, there's 2, and when there's 2, there's more. And it's true.
Dunleavy's death came just weeks before an appeal was to be heard against his sentence. That pending process stopped us from revealing this apology from the Christian Brothers, a religious order connected to the Catholic Church. In a statement to UTV, they said, "We abhor the abuse perpetrated by Brother Dunleavy and would encourage anyone with allegations to contact the police. We apologise unreservedly for the pain and hurt experienced by the actions of Brother Dunleavy. Since the early 90s, all allegations of sexual abuse against a brother or former Christian brother are immediately notified to the appropriate safeguarding authorities."
It's way too late.
You don't accept the apology?
Absolutely not. I never will. Not if they're on bended knees in front of me apologising.
Eddie Hutchinson speaking to Sharon O'Neill. Families of the disappeared gathered at a County Monaghan bog where searches are underway for Columba McVeigh for a special event to mark International Day of the Disappeared.
The County Tyrone teenager was abducted, murdered and secretly buried by the IRA in 1975. His sister Dimpna Kerr says all they want is to bring him home. Sarah O'Kane reports from County Monaghan.
Each cross is in memory of those murdered and still missing. Bragan Bog is a place nobody wants to come to.
We give thanks to God for those who have given information.
Families gathered to mark International Day of the Disappeared. As prayers are said and families remember, just over there, a chilling reality. Diggers are still carefully searching this bogland for the remains of Columba McVeigh. The 19-year-old was abducted, murdered and secretly buried by the IRA in 1975.
I'm very happy that the research team are here working. But I'm very sad because I think why they're working. They're trying to find my brother that will be in this bog almost 50 years.
Only those standing here know what this feels like.
I was here once before and I said I'd never come back. I had nightmares. But we have to stand together, and that's the point of the disappeared families. We're always together.
This barren bog is a place where none of us want to come to, but we have to come together and we have to let people know that we're still looking for those members that disappeared that haven't come home.
They know every thought and every feeling that's running through me because they've been there and they know.
The families who have the loved ones returned know the value of information from people who have that. It's not a question of pointing fingers or anything like that, and we just hope that if they have any information, they bring it forward now to the Commission, because it's invaluable and it's a moment of redemption for them as well.
These white crosses are for Columba McVeigh, Joe Linsky, Seamus Maguire, Robert Nyrak and Lisa Dorian. All disappeared. All still to be found. Sarah O'Kane, UTV Live, County Monaghan.
The Taoiseach Simon Harris has confirmed that the Irish humanitarian worker Gina Herity has been released. Gina had been held captive in Haiti since being kidnapped at the start of August. She was abducted along with 7 others and a child from an orphanage in Haiti.
The funeral has taken place of the former Ulster Unionist MP Martin Smith. The 94-year-old served the South Belfast constituency between 1982 and 2005. He was also a Presbyterian minister and Grand Master of the Orange Lodge of Ireland.
2 men are to stand trial for the alleged killing of a man assaulted near a church on the Shore Road in Whiteabbey in February 2023. Colin Crawley died in hospital. 37-year-old Sean Cowler of Abbey Glen Crescent and 30-year-old Michael Coyley from Glenville Park, both in Newtonabbey, are charged with manslaughter.
Gardaí have made a new appeal for information over the disappearance and suspected murder of Kyron Dernan, who would have turned 9 this year. He was reported missing in August last year and a murder investigation was launched in October. Police believe he may have died aged 6. After it emerged, he'd not been seen since May 2022.
Time now to take a look at the headlines making tonight's ITV News at 6:30.
Here's Lucrezia Millarini.
Tonight on the ITV Evening News, the government wins its bid to overturn an injunction blocking asylum seekers from being housed at an Essex hotel. The Bell Hotel in Epping has been at the centre of a wave of protest. Today's judgment means asylum seekers will be allowed to stay there for now. Plus, the chickenpox vaccine available on the NHS for the first time from January. Babies will be offered 2 doses combined with the MMR jab. And fans go wild as Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce make their first public appearance since announcing their engagement. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
It's time for sport.
Here's Will.
The game is heating up. John Mulholland Motors, sponsors of UTV Sport.
Good evening. Well, there won't be an Irish Premiership side in Europe this season after Linfield were sent crashing out of the Conference League by Shelbourne in the playoff round, with the Blues losing 5-1 on aggregate. Jordan Murr reports.
Fans of champions North and South were in full voice before last night's game at Windsor Park. A chance for both clubs to write their name in the history books, but the ink would run for only one. Linfield knew they had to score early, having lost the first leg in Dublin last week 3-1, and they nearly got off to the perfect start. That would be as good as it would get for the Blues. Shelbourne would take the lead, and that was effectively that.
It's a brilliant finish from Wood.
The League of Ireland champions would make it 2-0 on the night and 5-1 on aggregate not long after. Ali Coote burying the ball into the back of the net, and Linfield's European dreams with it.
We tried to get the first goal, we didn't. We considered it a really poor goal. First and second goals were poor goals defensively, something that we discussed. You know, it wasn't as if we were coming in blinded by an opposition team that we didn't know an awful lot about. We did. We were aware of Wood's movement, so that was disappointing.
The rest of the match was essentially a non-contest, with both sides resigned to their fate. For Shelbourne, who also beat Linfield in Champions League qualifying earlier this season, they head to the league phase of the Conference League for the first time. For Linfield and David Healy, they fall at the final hurdle for a third time in 6 seasons.
Delighted for the lads, the players. Thought they were brilliant, thought they got what they deserved. You know, sometimes in football you don't. I thought they really deserved it tonight. So, delighted for the football club. The fans obviously are fantastic. Fans that aren't here tonight. It's a huge football club, so delighted for all them. And obviously the people in the background. It's a great achievement.
Probably got the youngest squad that we've had here since I stepped through the door nearly 10 years ago. So it's important that we learn from that tonight, especially younger players. That's why I gave some of the younger players a wee bit more sort of exposure and some minutes towards the end. That if you do get beat in the manner that we could beat tonight, you gain something from it. And I think we gained a little bit of experience that they'll be better next time we play in Europe.
Well, in the Irish Premiership, Ballymena are aiming to maintain their perfect start away to Larne tonight, while Portadown face Crusaders. There's 3 more games tomorrow, including leaders Glentoran hosting Carrick. Derry City face St Pat's in the League of Ireland tonight. The Belfast Giants almost pulled off an upset in their Champions Hockey League opener last night. They were just 63 seconds away from beating Finnish champions Kalpa at the SSE Arena, but would eventually lose 3-2 in overtime. The Giants had opened the scoring less than a minute into the game through Patrick Grasso, with Ryan Smith getting their other goal. The Giants now face a must-win game against another Finnish side, Elvez, in Belfast on Saturday.
I liked our compete right to the end. Even though we were fatigued, it still looked like guys were trying. That's good. Nobody quit. I loved our penalty kill. I thought our power play looked pretty good as well. Obviously, we got to take the positives here, build, and go into a big game on Saturday here.
Well, Ireland have made 7 changes to the starting lineup from the team that beat Japan for Sunday's Women's Rugby World Cup clash with Spain in Northampton. Ulster's Claire Bowles replaces Edel Mahin at flanker as they manage the co-captain's workload. Spain were thumped by New Zealand in their opener, but Ireland aren't underestimating their opponents.
We treat everyone the same for lots of different reasons. Certainly they're a team that will challenge us. They've got a lot of sevens players in their group, and you could see from some of the transitions against New Zealand, if you give them space and time, they'll hurt you. They'll work incredibly hard, they never give up. So we're preparing for this team as we would any other. We have to make sure in terms of our preparation, team, player, in terms of our messaging and how we approach the game. If we're not physical, if we're not disciplined, if we don't stick to the game plan, it will be a massive challenge for us.
Well, that's all your sport this evening. Have a good weekend.
The game is heating up. John Mulholland Motors, sponsors of UTV Sport.
Thanks, Will. Well, it's Friday, so that means UTV Live is back from 7 o'clock.
Yes, here's Pamela with the taste of what's in store.
Yes, on UTV Live tonight at 7, comedian Mickey Bartlett will be here to talk about his brand new show, Rocket. Award-winning thriller writer Steve Kavanagh will be joining me to talk about his new book in the Eddie Flynn series. And Castledarg's Justin Loeb will be explaining how he uses music to teach children the magical world of Makaton. That's UTV Live tonight at 7, right after the national weather and on ITVX.
Now the weekend beckons, so what has the weather got in store? Here's hoping it's good.
Yes, keep your fingers crossed. Here's Louise.
Bringing the warm sunshine outside, inside. UTV weather. Sponsored by the Grande Rona R290 heat pump.
Hello there, good evening. We had 1 or 2 sharp showers today, the odd rumble of thunder in places. It's all changed tomorrow. We have some very wet and windy weather coming our way. We could see up to 50 millimetres of rainfall over the tops of the hills, 10 to 20 millimetres locally within an hour. Some brisk blustery winds, risk of coastal gales and feeling a lot fresher. It's all down to low pressure. It's moving in from the Atlantic. We do have a brief range of high pressure keeping things largely settled overnight tonight and into tomorrow. But that low pressure system will push in with that rain becoming quite intense into the afternoon tomorrow. Ahead of that, we have 1 or 2 scattered showers this evening. It should become largely dry for most places. There's a risk of some mist and fog forming over the tops of the hills. Temperatures will hold up between 11 and 13 degrees Celsius. So it is a rather mild night to come, and the winds will slowly start to ease down as we head towards dawn. So that high pressure will keep things settled tomorrow morning to start. A few brighter breaks. Then we have thicker cloud pushing up from the southwest, followed very closely behind by that band of rain. Some very heavy rainfall pushing through. The risk of coastal gales, winds gusting 50 miles per hour, 35 to 40 miles per hour inland, and temperatures reaching highs of 18 or 19 degrees Celsius. But the rain should move through relatively quickly, becoming drier into the afternoon with a few scattered showers following behind that. Across the rest of Ireland, it's a very wet start, plenty of rain around to start the day, some heavy bursts. It should move off relatively quickly to leave a drier afternoon with some bright and sunny spells, but there is a risk of a few coastal gales as the winds remain fairly blustery and strong, temperatures reaching highs of 20 degrees Celsius. Remaining unsettled through into Sunday with further outbreaks of rain with some brisk winds. That's the latest. Bye-bye.
UTV weather. Sponsored by the Grande Rona R290 heat pump.
That's you up to date on UTV Live this Friday. We've more on our website. Just search UTV News. Paul will be back with the late news. That's at around 10:30.
Yes, well, indeed, I hope you can join me then. The ITV News continues now with Lucrezia Millarini. But from Sarah, me and everyone here at UTV, have a lovely evening.
Bye-bye.